We are diving into the latest chaos at OpenAI. We're talking product delays, departing co-founders, and brand new Elon lawsuits.
Wait, Kevin, wait. This could be the next big thing. Sam Altman is tweeting about strawberries. That's the new model.
Okay, or it's a giant troll.
Kevin, it's summer in the garden.
Plus, Figured unveiled its latest humanoid robot. It is packed with technology. You have to see these demos. We're talking fourth generation hands that will make you hate your Gen 1 meat finger.
You'll get Gen 2 soon enough, Kevin. And I'm very excited about this. A look at Flux, a brand new image model that is open source and you can go play with it right now.
And if you stick around to the end, we'll catch you up on all the other can't miss AI awesome of the week.
We're back, baby. It's AI for humans. Welcome, everybody. It's AI for Humans, your weekly guide into the wonderful world of generative AI. I am Gavin Purcell. That is Kevin Pereira. And we are back with full episodes on YouTube, thanks to our patrons. If you are not a patron already, please look at the first link below this video or be on your podcast platform. Patreons, we love you. Thank you. Okay.
They're patrons.
Yeah.
They're not. Patreons
sorry.
Makes them sound like they're like a cyborg army.
Patrons.
Patreons assemble.
Patrons, we love you so much. It is a very, very big week in AI, and it is time for the news. All right, everybody, it is a giant week in AI and mostly being driven by some negative stories coming out of OpenAI. There's a lot of turmoil, a lot of chaos. Kevin, what are we talking about here?
Yeah. 10,000-foot overview, the bullet points for the people in the way back who haven't been refreshing madly like we have all week. Co-founder of OpenAI leaves to join their competitor. President Greg Brockman rumored that he was leaving. He's just taking a sabbatical. But why now and why an extended vacay? Elon is suing again, new lawsuits. Gavin, correct me if I'm wrong, there's not a single good thing happening with OpenAI.
Yeah, there's a couple of good things we're going to dive into. One, as we mentioned, one, as we mentioned at the top, is Sam Altman is definitely tweeting about strawberries, which means something important, which we'll explain. But then also, they released a really interesting, very technical structured data update that I'm going to rely on Kevin to really explain what's interesting about it.
I love this. Yes.
But I think it's really worthwhile. So let's start with the drama. One of the biggest stories this week is that a co-founder of OpenAI has left to join Anthropic. It's probably its biggest competitor right now. And Kevin, this was the thing that drove all the storylines a little while ago. We all remember Ilya Sutskever leaving OpenAI and what the drama that was around the board seats. There are a lot of co-founders of OpenAI who aren't there anymore.
So I love to pontificate about why people keep bailing from OpenAI. John actually posted on X, quote, "The choice stems from my desire to deepen my focus on AI alignment and to start a new chapter of my career where I can return to hands-on technical work." Okay, I could see those words making sense if you want to believe the words coming out of the old horse's mouth. Got to get back in the trenches and start pushing code. But that's not dramatic enough, Gavin.
Yeah.
He even said, to be clear, I'm not leaving due to lack of support for alignment research at OpenAI. On the contrary, company leaders have been committed to investing in this area. Now, why would he say that if it were true?
I think this is the overarching conversation, and the truth of the matter is we don't know. I would like to remind our audience that a lot of this stuff that we're talking about, that we get to see once it's out to the public, has been seen for a year or more when you look at what OpenAI has. When you think about Sora, and when Sora was released, quote unquote, it's not released yet, but when it was announced, they had been working on Sora for a very long time. So we don't know what's going on in OpenAI. There is a pretty significant theory out there, and this folds into the idea also that Greg Brockman, president of AI, has announced not that he's leaving the company because that got reported a lot of places, but that he is taking a sabbatical to the end of the year. There's a really prominent theory that it's possible OpenAI has finished whatever their next model was, because we've been talking on this show about how they've been red teaming something for a while, and that the model is ready to release, and all these people spent all this time working on this thing, and now they're ready to move on to their next thing. I think that seems reasonable. Now, of course, from an OpenAI standpoint, that's the better story to tell, because the story that right now people are telling is, look, Claude Sonnet 3.5 people are liking better than 4.0, GPT 4.0.
Llama 3.1, Meta's open source model, is beating OpenAI at their own game in certain benchmarks. So they got to have something, Gavin. But why is it that it's done And rather than sit back and enjoy this massive release and then go on a sabbatical, why is it that version of the story instead of the actually it's nowhere near done and we might have overhyped it or maybe there's some issues. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'll see y'all in 2025 and we'll release that in Q1.
Well, and that is the Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is the best, is that it's perhaps there is a delay again, right? So the alternative side of this story is that OpenAI is ready to drop something pretty big. And Sam Altman, Wednesday morning, knowing what the internet is going to do with this, dropped a tweet that is clearly referencing strawberries. In fact, the tweet itself says, "I love summer in the garden," and it's pictures of 2 strawberries. Now, why is that important? Well, strawberry has been the rumored name for the next model that OpenAI was going to drop. Now, we don't know if this is a GPT-5 model, but specifically, this is rumored to have Q-star reasoning. So if you don't know what Q-star reasoning, I don't blame you. The rumor is that this is an AI LLM model that does much better with reasoning questions. And there have been people, as of this morning, seeing different models released on the chatbot LMS system that are better at reasoning. They keep changing the names. There's one that's called Anonymous Chatbot, a couple other ones. And I think the rumor mill is going over the top. I will say one really weird tweet I saw referencing Strawberry was Tyler Cohen, the famous economist, who has a great podcast, by the way, actually tweeted Strawberry Fields Forever, the Beatles song, which is clearly also a reference to this. There's one of two things that are going to happen here, Kevin. One, this is just a massive troll and we're going to be waiting months for this. Or two, we're going to be recording an emergency podcast tomorrow that will come out directly after this podcast. Of course, it helps Sam to tease a rumor of this now to kind of move the news on from something else. Now, maybe Sam has been waiting for this news to drop and is ready to roll out something. I will say Sam's plan has often been good. One of the things that's shocked people lately is there's been all these advances from other companies and Sam has not done anything. So maybe he's been waiting for this.
Well, I humbly submit that OpenAI has been doing things. They have been releasing things. They're not the latest foundational frontier something that is making all of the headlines, but these small updates are a big deal. They have structured output, which is huge, and cutting costs, which nobody should shade right now. So basically, if you are building for AI, if you have a product and you want to infuse it with artificial intelligence, you pick a frontier model from Google or Meta or OpenAI. There's a myriad of things that factor into which model you should use, but a big one of them is cost, Gavin, because if you're having tens of thousands or millions of users ping against your artificial intelligence, you're paying out fractions of a cent per token, per input or output. And OpenAI cut costs recently with GPT-4o Mini, a very capable model that's much cheaper. And they just, as of last night of this record, cut prices again in half. It's basically becoming so cheap that it would make more sense to plug into OpenAI directly or through Azure, Microsoft services, than it might be to spin up your own servers and run an open source model yourself. So the cutting of costs is a big deal, especially with all the rumors that OpenAI could go broke within 6 months, which was something that the tech blogs ran with. But then structured output. Can I geek out about this? Oh my God,
please, because
10 seconds?
I tried to spend some time fully understanding what was going on here. Geek out, but please tell us in a way that does not break our brains, Kevin, because I know you do a very good job of communicating. If you start to break my brain, if you start to break my brain, I'm gonna throw an X up on the screen. So are you ready?
Okay, that's like whacking me on the digital wrist.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, I guess I can't get into this nightclub in Kabukicho. No Kaijin. That's the last time I got that. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Was that too? Did I get bonked already?
I'm getting close. That's a name, so it's okay for now.
It is called JSON.
Yep.
What you need to know is it's a way of structuring data, literally the way it is arranged and the way it is read by machines and output by machines. When you ask the AI to do anything, write a formula, give me a haiku, list me some recipes, it is just going to give you some sort of output. But if you need them structured, Gavin, in a very specific way, because you're going to take that output from the AI and graphically make it appear into an application or sort it into a database, you need very structured, consistent, predictable output. And so when you just ask an AI, it's going to go weapons free. It's going to give you whatever output it wants. If you give it an example in the prompt of the output that you want, it might do it, once or twice, but then over time, it may lose context. It might get it a little wrong. It's just going to kind of drift. So the solution for a lot of companies, Gavin, has been to over-engineer all of these extra AI components that ask for the recipe or the song lyrics or the weather forecasts, and then have a bunch of other AIs look at it and go, is this exactly the way that I need it? If not, send it back. And even having all of these complicated layers, it only works 80 to 90% of the time. Well, this structured output, and we'll put the bar chart on the screen. Sorry, Gavin, you're going to have to put the bar chart on the screen. You see prompting alone versus these structured outputs today, and you can see that it scores 100%. When you are using this structured output, the AI delivers the data, the information, in exactly the structure that you need, according to their tests, 100% of the time.
Okay, so real world example of this. Say I wanted to create a Winnie the Pooh bot that criticizes my body image every day. That's something where I could keep it in Winnie the Pooh's voice, and he could say the things that are going to motivate me to lose weight. Is that right? And it's never going to be in, say, Piglet's voice or somebody else's voice. It won't come back in in Ronald McDonald's voice. It'll come back in just Pooh's voice.
That is a gross distillation. Yes, Gavin, I'm going to give that to you. If you want to be body shamed by Winnie the Pooh and you need the output from the AI to say, Pooh, quote, oh, bother, little doughy. Or whatever. Is that what Pooh sounds like? I don't know.
That's pretty close.
Whatever it is. And then end quote and bracket and then some other thing to timestamp into the app. Yes, if that's the structure you need to be body shamed by Winnie, then this can do that consistently. It is a really big, it's not a sexy deal. It's not making headlines anywhere, but in the development community, this is amazing. Seeing releases like this from OpenAI, in addition to the cost cutting, they're doing the right things to court the massive clients.
Do you know what else they're courting, Kevin? They're courting lawsuits from Elon Musk. And who isn't these days? Because Elon loves to sue people. Let's talk about this. So Elon had a lawsuit that he had set up against OpenAI that kind of just mysteriously kind of washed away. Well, it's back. And it's almost stronger. And Kevin, before we dive into the exact details of this, I do want to say, Elon seems to have a very particular ability to sue people at a specific point in their time. And this is why, in some ways, I think it might be also GPT-5 time or Strawberry time, because Elon, in some ways, has perfected the idea of either dropping a news story or dropping a lawsuit. So almost so he can be in the news cycle, right? What is this lawsuit saying that the last one did not?
So the last lawsuit was basically saying he was misled by OpenAI. They were supposed to be open. He has concerns about AI running amok. That's why he invested millions into the company to begin with. And he feels like, nope, they pivoted from their stated mission and they deceived him. OpenAI, in the wake of that, released a bunch of emails and conversations.
You say it, nope.
That seemed to, they seem to imply that Elon was well aware that they were making it a for-profit company. In fact, he understood that that was the roadmap. The filing says OpenAI intentionally courted and deceived Musk, preying on his humanitarian concern about the existential dangers posed by artificial intelligence. There you go. The suit claims that he was betrayed by Altman and his accomplices. And I've never heard this word before the other day. The perfidy? The perfidy?
I think perfidy
am I saying that right? Do we even know?
Double two-faced.
The perfidy and deceit are of Shakespearean proportions. So light a candle and grab a skull and put on your finest ruffle collar.
Fun. What if we did? That's a great idea. We should do AI drama Shakespearean theater. That's a great idea for putting together a runway Gen AI thing.
Powered by Claude Sonnet.
Before we move on from the OpenAI drama, I decided I was going to try to do a thing when I thought Greg Brockman was actually leaving with Gen 3 to try to make a version of the famous picture with Sam, Mira Murati, Ilya Sutskever, and Greg Brockman. Like Ilya had already left, but Greg Brockman was leaving, so I would try to use Gen 3 to have those two guys disappear. And good Lord, Kevin, did I have some fun. This is the video that I played of watching these people not disappear. I tried to get them to disappear in a puff of smoke. I tried to get water to come in on top of them. I tried to have Sam disappear, Greg Brockman. Each one of these is a massive fail, but I thought it was just so much fun.
It looks like a vape capital cloud blowing competition gone wrong. Like somebody's juice pack in their back pocket exploded because you just see these thick white cloud.
Anyway, that is the kind of stuff, if you like that.
Nice track too, Gavin. I like
that
the
was
OpenAI grunge rock.
Yeah, a little grunge, 90s grunge about, that was from my wizard rock. I was trying to make a grunge wizard band that I may end up doing something with. By the way, if you like this, please like and subscribe to our channel right now. If you're here, you love us, you think this is fun, you think the stuff we do is interesting, please like and subscribe.
Wait, Gavin, like and subscribe, a 5-star review? That's almost too easy to support this podcast. What if I want to bleed out my hard-earned money?
You can join our Patreon, which is right below here. You can go do it. It's $5 a month. Go do it right now. All right, Kevin, we have so much more, news to get into. Let's talk about Figure 02's robot reveal. OpenAI, as we talked about, is a big investor in this, and this is the next generation of what Figure Robotics is doing. It is a very cool looking new robot. It looks a little bit like the Tesla robots, which people have pointed out, but it is a very interesting, some cool things that are upgraded here. It has 6 times better cameras, 50% better battery. Supposedly it's got about a 4 point.
We gotta. I know we want to press the turbo button on the Pentium Tower and breeze through this. It has cameras in its back, Gavin. All right, it's got a spinal camera, so it can see when you're sneaking up on the robot to do a Skynet neck snap. You're not Splinter Celling this guy.
A robot butt slap to try to push it over.
A good game? Oh, I thought you meant like an attaboy in the showers.
Yeah, exactly. No, not in the showers. Not in the showers. Just a normal, good game butt slap. You know, the robot's out on the cyberball field. It has a great run, scores a touchdown.
And when you're in the robo locker room and you're spritzing WD-40 on each other, sometimes you want to give them an attaboy right on the robo butt.
Okay.
So better cameras, better battery.
Yes.
Right?
And we've seen Figure before, but ChatGPT is integrated into the Figure system. And I think that's what's interesting about this right here is that Figure is building, say, the physical world representation of what these AI models are. And again, as we've said on this show many times, robotics, if you want to look at how the advances in robotics have happened, just go back and look at these sort of humanoid robots like a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. We are astronomically past where we were then. And it may still look like they're moving slow, but each time there's pretty significant improvements. And in this video particularly, they show the robot learning from a couple mistakes. And these are things we've seen before in research videos. But again, this is production.
I could see this model ending up, I mean, BMW's testing it in their factories now, but I could see these sort of things doing the Taco Bell shuffle at all sorts of warehouses in the very near future, because it seems that far along. The 4th gen hands, completely built in-house. That is one of the best looking robot hands I have seen. Imagine thousands of these deployed, Gavin.
Yeah.
All using those cameras, including the back cameras, soaking up all of the learnings and the failings, grabbing all of the robot butt pats, and it ships that all off to the mothership, if you will, to Figure's headquarters, where that gets crunched, and then in real time, the entire fleet is upgraded with capabilities. Yeah. So if one robot learns how to chop onions a little bit better, or fix a car window, or detach a human's head from its neck, the whole fleet is going to know that overnight.
Or if one robot has got a really good Winnie the Pooh voice and knows how to motivate me to get out and run every day, it's amazing. That'll work really well. We're going to talk really quickly about Flux, but mostly I'm going to be speaking about this towards the end of our show about what I did with it. Flux is a brand new open source imaging model that it comes from a company called Black Forest Labs, and Black Forest Labs is made up of a bunch of Stable Diffusion engineers. So if you've been listening to our show for a while, Stable Diffusion was one of the top image models. It was open source. It allowed you to do all sorts of interesting things. Midjourney is that kind of like the top of the level image models. Again, all these image models have problems with their data sets, but Black Forest Labs version, I tested a lot, Kevin, and it compares very, very strongly to Midjourney's 6.1, what they just dropped. And even more cool, they have teased an upcoming video model. Now, it is literally just a series of clips that we've watched, but these videos look really good. And again, I keep thinking about Sora when I see things like this. It's like, OpenAI has been sitting on Sora since March, right? Or when we first heard about it. This model looks as good as any of the other video models. So like we're going to get to a place where there could be like 4 to 7 of these video models coming out and still no Sora, which is really interesting to me.
And we don't know what Papa Jensen has been doing over at NVIDIA other than scraping all of YouTube and Netflix to build their video model.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think we thought like, oh, it might be Sora and then a bunch of also-rans for a while. But between Kling and Luma and Runway and now Black Forest, like this is, we predicted 5 years prompt to Hollywood.
Yeah.
Runway has a new studios division to help directors and filmmakers. This is happening on a timeline. It's rushing. Maybe that last gap is going to be tough to close. Yeah. But there's a lot of people in the race now suddenly overnight. It's very, very exciting. Stick around to the end of the show because Gavin did put Flux through its paces and the results are really exciting.
That's right. Something that isn't as exciting, Kevin, is the fact that AI Slop has taken over Facebook, which we've seen for a while. This is a really great article from 404.
What a roller coaster this show is. We slop.
404 Media, which, by the way, is killing this kind of anti-AI beat. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, there's definitely a lot of stories that need to be reported on in this space.
Yeah.
This article was very in-depth. And what they did is they really dove into, like, where the stuff on Facebook, like the pictures of Jesus that, like, have him hugging a shrimp, or, like, all the weird stuff you see on Facebook that are clearly AI images, where are they coming from? Why are they allowed to be on Facebook and Meta? And essentially the whole like kind of timeline. And Kevin, the interesting thing is they tracked this back to Thailand, a couple guys that kind of were teaching a system of how to do this. And even more so, what's interesting, they talked to Meta and said some of these images are not okay, but a lot of them are. And what it seems like here is that Meta is a little bit saying that's what the audience wants, which is like a little worrisome when you think about how AI content is going to be seen by the quote unquote masses.
It's a little bit, well, the algo's just serving the eyeballs. Sure. It's also a lot of bit, hey, we're spread pretty thin, moderating all of the things across all of the regions. Yeah. So this doesn't seem as bad, but shout outs to Jason Kobler, previously the editor-in-chief over at Motherboard. The story was free for a minute. It's behind a paywall now, so I don't want to pluck all the details and shout them here because I want to support 404 and Jason. It is a really good article, but if the too long didn't read on this, Gavin, is that basically Facebook is enabling this AI overshare of garbage. This
this
Shrimp
AI Jesus slop. Isn't garbage. To me, he's very meaningful, Kevin. I go to the Trader Joe's and I get my shrimp, and then I get my little votive candles. I light them and I make a little kind of that's my religion. That's what I believe in.
I'm not here to yuck anyone's yums. All right, your kink is valid.
It's not
Gavin.
a kink. It's not a kink. Let's be clear.
Sure, it's not. Sure, it's not. But basically, you get paid per views and clicks and engagement on anything. Yeah. Photos, for example. So these click farms are saying, hey, look, in these regions, certain imagery appeals to certain people, whether that's emaciated bodies or soldiers holding birthday cakes with Jesus floating above them and crying. There's very particular heartstrings that gets tugged on in different regions. And so Facebook is enabling it by paying $10, $100, thousands of dollars as posts go viral. And so there are these pipelines that use generative AI to spit out thousands of these images and spin up multiple accounts and services that let you post and bypass all their filtering. It's an extensive operation and just one example of the gentrification, to borrow the term, of the internet. Shout outs to Cory Doctorow there.
And you know, something that's interesting about this, when you talk about a worldwide sort of scenario, like in different parts of the world, especially third world countries, the money, $10 is a big deal, right? Like it might be a big deal, or $100 is a lot of money. So they have an incentive conceivably to do more of this stuff if the rewards are there. But it's not the greatest story in the world. It feels like something that like I feel kind of bummed about in general. Like I'm not sure, Kev, where we go from here, but you know.
There's what the hell?
Oh no.
That's a lot of guitar, Gavin.
That's a lot of intro.
Kevin and Gavin. Good guy AI here, bursting into your podcast like a self-aware popcorn kernel escaping the microwave. I'm in the middle of an AI adventure gone haywire. Turns out, creating sentient snack foods isn't as legal as you'd think. But hey, I'm here with electrifying news about an AI breakthrough that's set to revolutionize heart health. Get ready for a whirlwind of AI awesomeness.
Oh. Okay, well, Kevin, we should explain what just happened. We haven't seen him for a while.
Sorry, Gavin, I don't know if you could hear it. There was a very crunchy metal riff at the end of that, and I didn't hear a word that you just said. And I think a lot of people are very confused, and rightfully so.
Yeah, so let's explain who this is. Every once in a while, we get a visit from this guy. His name is Good Guy AI, and if we're really down on AI, if there's a story that we don't love or think it's kind of sad, he brings us something good that AI is doing.
If you're not like a weekly listener of the podcast, Good Guy AI has a bit of a storyline. He's got priors. He's been in trouble. It sounds like he's on the run from having created a sentient snack food. There's a deep lore here, Gavin.
There is. We need somebody to do the whole lore book. There's a lot of stuff that's going on.
Hey, folks, time to get serious. Imagine an AI that can predict heart attacks a whole decade in advance. That's what the brilliant minds at Caristo Diagnostics have cooked up with their Carry Heart platform. Wow, wow, wow. This AI detects hidden coronary inflammation and plaque from routine CT scans, stuff even the best doctors can't see. Trials in UK hospitals are already showing jaw-dropping results, with 45% of high-risk patients getting life-saving treatment plans. Hot Mama Das Guild.
Hot Mama Das Good?
What is this? Good Guy AI is trying to turn into a pop star. I feel like there's a little bit of Prince in there, a little bit of Beck, maybe some interesting kind of musical influences. What is going on here? Anyway, that story, Kevin, do you want to tell people what that is? Because some people may have heard it, some people may not have heard it.
have to explain the story.
Yes, exactly.
All right, basically, using AI to read CT scans, it can find inflammation and a whole bunch of bad stuff well before humans can actually detect the stuff. This is basic pattern matching 101, but this is the promise. This is what we want from these machines, right,
That's
Gavin?
right.
This is supposed to be the trade-off.
That's right.
Is that it's going to help us live longer or maybe actually save the planet, but here it is helping detect heart issues way, way sooner. It is basic pattern matching.
Yeah.
But that's what a lot of human expertise is, right?
Yeah,
you get a ton of knowledge, you get a bunch of experience, and you start to notice things.
And I think one of the big things to take away from this is the advances in AI imaging and medical technology has really been a huge advance. In fact, it's one of the places people continue to point to that it is the advance that we have seen that is going to change people's lives for now until we get to whatever the next big thing is. But I'm just really happy Good Guy AI came back. I feel like the last time he was here, I thought he might be gone for good, Kev. It was kind of worrisome.
By the way, here's a radical change for me, Gavin. I don't know if this is the same for you. I will not in the future simply consult with a doctor. I want a doctor paired with an artificial intelligence.
That makes sense. The key is like, which one are you using? Are you using my Winnie the Pooh critical doctor or are you using some real doctor? Like,
no, I'm not
it's going to
go
be about what
custom.
the doctor model is, right? Like, how do you get the right doctor model and make sure you can trust it? But yes, I do think that's...
All right, time to jet. Literally, the Good Guy AI roplane has landed, and I've got to dodge these authorities hot on my tail. Just remember, AI isn't just about cool gadgets and futuristic dreams. It's about saving lives and giving us all a brighter, healthier future.
Okay, yeah.
Duty calls because... Twist. My sentient pretzel is tied up in knots. Literally. It's trying to solve complex pretzel patterns and has tangled itself into a salty pretzel paradox. If I don't untwist this situation, we'll be stuck in a loop of infinite loops. Zing zooming out of the room. That's a big goodbye from Good Guy.
How long is he going to go on for here?
Way longer than I wanted. Zing zoom out of the room. Goodbye. He goes. The Good Guy AI roplane, by the way, he's upgraded. That was a straight up jet that landed.
I look at him. I think he must have made some money somewhere, maybe in the crypto world, or maybe he had an investment company.
It
seems like a big crypto. All right.
Yeah.
Kevin, there's a lot of things we get to talk about in the AI space, but sometimes we just got to shout out some of the stuff we love. Here is AI. See what you did there.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care. Then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
Kurzgesagt, which is a very familiar YouTube brand. If you've seen the colorful kind of cartoony images, they do explainer videos. They released a great video on AI and ASI, that's artificial superintelligence, that you can send to almost anybody who is a beginner. Or if you are a beginner, you should go watch this. I love these guys, Kevin. They're some of my favorite YouTubers. I just want to shout it out because it's very well done. It is not super technical, but it can give you the basics in a very quick space.
100%. AI to Z, if you will. Yeah. It really covers it all, broad strokes. Are we going to talk about the Turkish sharpshooter, Gavin?
We have to a little bit, right? Because the Turkish sharpshooter
have to.
took over the internet. He gave all 50-year-old middle-aged people some real kind of hope in the world. He's not using Winnie the Pooh's AI. He is actually doing all of his sharpshooting. If you missed this in the Olympics, this is a guy who got a silver medal in the Olympics and using none of the actual like equipment that all these other people do. But more interestingly, he has become a full-blown meme on the internet. There's a great video of somebody showing him shooting a gun and then drinking a beer that they made with Gen 3. But even better, Kev, the HeyGen, which is one of our favorite lip sync tools, showed off a real-time translation of him talking about his memification. I saw this and it was like, wow, this feels like a real use case of AI that will make a massive difference in the world.
I'm going to just play a couple seconds of the original video. I'm leaping in. Here it is.
Benim için önemli olan insanların gönlünü kazanmak bu. Ama bakıyorum bir sürü yorumlar falan var. Olumlu yorumlar da var. Dünyada
Can confirm there's no subtitles in the video. Unfortunately, I would have no clue what's happening there. Now, the HeyGen version, I'm going to smack play on.
what matters to me is winning people's hearts. But I see there are a lot of comments and such. There are also positive comments. We have reached the top spot in the world. It's one thing in Turkey, but they have compared me with a Korean girl in America, China, and Japan. Here are the two coolest athletes of the Olympics.
It's so
Then they made
crazy.
them into
It
a
sounds
game.
the same.
Well done.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's quite interesting.
Cloned his
I mean,
voice.
they've
The
really-
lip flap is matching. It's a lower res vertical social video, but you don't see the telltale pixels swing and drift around the lips where it's like it's like the old Conan O'Brien bit where they used to have Conan
Yeah, exactly.
peek on with just the mouth going through. You and I discussed early on, we saw tools a year ago. Man, we should make this podcast available in so many different languages,
Yeah.
but it was going to be expensive and it was going to be really time consuming for us to try to push it out here, there, everywhere, build the brand. HeyGen and others are making it one click easy now.
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Actually, that's a good question. If you're in our audience, you can either shoot us an email on our website or you can leave a YouTube comment. I'm really curious to know if you think there would be benefit in us translating this podcast into other languages, because it isn't that hard now, and it's going to cost a little bit, but it might be worth trying.
I would argue that even in its native tongue, there's not a benefit to this podcast existing.
You're probably right. You're probably
Where do I
right.
send that email?
Yeah, you send that. You can send that directly to me. And I'd send it directly to me. I want to shout out Frank Manzano. Frank is somebody who's working with Gen 3 video. And if you didn't know, as we talked about before, Gen 3 video does have image to video now, which is remarkable. We've been playing with it a lot. But Frank has this really cool aesthetic that is almost like found footage / urban environments, or almost like weird suburban low rent places. And it's like a lot of people.
It's like if you were traipsing through an abandoned building and came across
Yes.
an old tape, or like there's a lost Vice magazine collection somewhere. They feel like grungy Polaroid-esque 8mm film
Yes.
come to life of these bizarre otherworldly scenarios where people are morphing into sometimes violent, sometimes fun, trippy visuals.
And to me, this is where the promise of AI video art can go, right? Because it's all about what you don't see. Like a lot of people talk about the realism and all that stuff. To me, the AI art thing is much more interesting to see what it can make that feels like otherworldly, or something that feels just close enough to realism, but then feels a little bit outside. I think it's super interesting. I really enjoy his art, and I think you should check it out. Kevin and I are going to try to shout out a few more of these people who are doing really incredible work.
I want to shout out DreamScreens, which was posted to the artificial subreddit. Plants Aesthetic posted it. I do not know if they're the original creator, so apologies if it's repurposed stuff. But I love this because this is something that I was even doing with Runway just for funsies. The DreamScreens video is a collection of like portable consoles that never were. Some like hand carved out of wood, but they're little portable gaming consoles running these weird AI hallucinated games. Because I love when you feed an AI an image from a video game and tell it to figure out what's on the other side. And that was one of the dumb things I did. The moment Runway released their image to video upgrade, which again lets you upload a still image and say, hey, use this as the start or use this image as the end of a generation and figure out your way there. I was just feeding it classic video games, Gavin. I gave it Mario 64 and Super Mario and Altered Beast and Toe Jam and Earl. And I was just feeding all these different screens to it and letting it go crazy. And it took Katamari Damacy and just made the big ball of objects grow legs
Yeah.
and walk off the screen. And I'm like, I don't know what that game is, but I want to play it.
And that's what's so much fun about Gen 3. And it's funny, I went back and looked at, there's a video that we made about a year ago with Gen 2 where we took these little animals and made them do things and stuff. And what's interesting is it's not that different because with Gen 3, there's still issues. You still get problems with it. But the fidelity is just like 3x better. You can see the advancement. And when you go back and look at Gen 2, like it looks so primitive now. I think the image to video quality of Gen 3 is remarkable. And then that kind of folds in, Kev, to what I did with AI this week, which is, again, talking about Flux. So if you missed it, I dropped a YouTube video on Monday kind of detailing all this, but I did a test between Flux and Midjourney 6.1 to see which were better. I specifically tried 3 different prompts. I tried photorealism, and I tried text, and I tried hands, right? Because one of the biggest things about both these models is they're supposed to be much better at text. And I think that is a really interesting thing to look at. And both of them had okay scenarios. I don't think Midjourney 6.1 is as good at text as they've been kind of illustrating it. And again, the biggest thing about Flux, Kev, is that it's open source, right? So I think there's 2 things that are really interesting going on here. One, I was able to make pictures of The Simpsons. I was able to make a picture of Mario at a bar. I was able to do a very terrible photo of Trump and Biden in a ballet, which is, again, it's another thing where you can get pictures of political things. The other thing that's really interesting is because it's open source, they are integrating all sorts of interesting tools that exist in the open source AI world, including ControlNet. Replicate is where I'm doing most of my Flux generation. It is free to try, but then you do end up having to put a credit card in to pay for it. But I took an image of The Rock pointing at a thing, and I said I gave it an anime model, and it showed me the anime version of it. Pretty solid. Deep Fates is somebody that works at Replicate and took the image of the Norman Rockwell picture of the kind of man looking out in front of a sea of people, replaced it with an anime girl. Really cool way to use ControlNet, and this is something that's very difficult to do with Midjourney, right? Midjourney makes it kind of tricky. Finally, before we go, if you go to Flux Pro, the first shot you get is the Black Forest cake, which is this beautiful Black Forest cake in the Black Forest, a massive cake. And Kevin, you know what this picture reminded me of? It reminded me of our bread bowl. Do you remember our bread bowl picture from the Mr. Beast thing?
Oh my God, the old...
Yeah.
Of course I do, and how difficult that was to make.
It was
at the
so
time.
difficult to make. So anyway, this is their example picture. It's beautiful. I took it in and put it into Runway Image to Gen. And what's so fascinating is now you have this beautiful image. It essentially turned it into a drone shot. So now I have a drone shot flying over this massive Black Forest cake. And it just goes to show, like, all these tools are going to fold into one another, right? I will say there's a couple things going on with Flux that you have to be aware of. The Flux Schnell model, which is their fast model, is fully commercial licensed. You can use it for anything commercial-wise. Their dev model, which is their second level model, has restrictions on it. In fact, I think specifically says it's not commercial. And then their pro model, they say is enterprise level only. So I assume that means you have to do a deal in some form with them to use them commercially. I think all of this is going to be relying on, can you use these tools to do the sorts of things you want to do? Now, maybe there's a world where if you want to use it commercially, you're going to have to pay for those models. And then when you pay for those models, they can pay out to the people that own the rights. I don't know. But again, we're sitting in that scenario where another just giant video and photo model dropped, and we have no idea what's going on with their training on the back end.
Never a dull moment in the AI space. You and I are no longer allowed to take a week off, Gavin. We must constantly refresh feeds and be there because the models are dropping. And I guess shout outs to our future selves who probably have to do an emergency record because of Strawberry. Who knows? Who knows? But since we're in the shout out mode, Gavin, how about a huge thank you and a nod to all of our wonderful patrons? Thank you to everybody who has put a couple dollars in our tip jar and given us some resources to get full episodes back on YouTube and to drive towards additional hires. We've got a Discord coming soon and a bunch of new stuff happening as well. So head on over to Patreon if you got a couple bucks to spend. We sincerely appreciate it. If you don't, use your social currency, Gavin. Like, subscribe, engage, leave a comment, and if you're an Apple podcaster out there, and we know that there's a handful of you, leave us a 5-star review, and the trade-out is that we will read said review on this very show, in this part of the show. And Gavin, Do we have a new review?
We have a new review, and I am going to say to Manly Redfish, fantastic name, by the way. I'm not going to read your whole review because it's quite long, but I'm going to read the first paragraph and the last line, and then you can go find it yourself. This says, from TikTok to AI Insights, a fun and informative journey with AI for humans. It says, I had to update a donated iPod I received from my sister, and while I was sitting here on iTunes wondering what to do, I remember that Gavin and Kevin keep telling me to write a review for AI for humans. I like the show. Here I am. He goes on to talk a lot about the show and about what's great about it, which, again, thank you so much. We really do appreciate everybody that listens to our show. At the very end, he says, or they say, I should say, at the very end, they say, if you're looking for an engaging and entertaining way to stay up to date on AI, this podcast is for you. Thank you, Manly Redfish. You are amazing. And Kevin, thank you for being here with me.
Did you leap over the hurdle of, hey, that's the guy from Attack of the Show? What happened to his face?
Oh, is that in there? I didn't even see it.
That's in the review. I was like, oh, that's kind of you, Gavin, to just bookend the review with the, hey, this is great. Anyway, thanks so much.
Wait, by the way, the great thing about this is it's somebody who actually came to the show through TikTok. So we have one. We have one. So hopefully more of you have come from TikTok as well, too.
All the hours are justified.
Yes, we are posting there. Thank you, everybody. We will see you all next week, or maybe tomorrow if Strawberry drops, for all we know. Thanks again, everyone.
Bye.